This first presentation by Laurel Peltier is about third-party energy suppliers. Laurel is an AARP volunteer and founder of the Energy Supplier Help Desk, a website where tips and information are offered to help consumers understand their bills and third-party plans and choices. That's energysupplierhelpdesk.org. So you can either Google Energy Supplier Help Desk, or the web address is www.energysupplierhelpdesk.org. That's all pushed together, one word. Before Laurel begins her presentation, let me say that we'll try to have an open mic question and answer period after she's finished, but you can also put questions in the chat. Laurel will answer as many questions as time allows. Laurel, let's hear what you have to say.
Good morning. Thank you. It's great to see you all. I actually recognize Dale. I got to work with her. And this presentation is very simple, and it's for anybody that lives in a deregulated state. I am not going to spend a lot of time talking about the background and all that. I'm going to give you specific tips on what I want you to do. And I think you can see, did I share my screen?
Go. Do you have?
Oh, hold on. Share screen. Gotcha.
There you go.
All right. So let's see. Let's put this in
Slideshow?
slideshow. Thanks.
From the beginning.
Okay. So I am an AARP advocate. I'm a reporter, and I've learned about energy suppliers just by looking at bills. And I have become an advocate for reform of deregulation. And all I hope in these next 15 minutes is inspire you to do one thing. I would love for you to check your utility bill. And this is not something that most people are even interested in, but my goal is to get you so excited to put this on your calendar that you will check your utility bill, because most of us set it and forget it. My first thing you might say is, what is a deregulated energy supplier? And the way we as consumers know about them are really three ways. I know you've seen this. You may have seen someone at your door. Oops. A sales agent at your door, especially if you live in an urban area. You may have seen, at Walmart, Sam's Club, they set up tables and they tell you, oh, you should switch your utility and save money. And you probably got some direct mailers. Why am I talking about deregulated supply? In the States, Texas and the Northeast, all deregulated. And you see these bullseyes? These are, the bullseyes are the states right now where these retail suppliers are working very hard in their state legislators to switch them to a deregulated state. And I put the two X's in California because they used to be deregulated and they're not. All it means for consumers is you're going to have a company come to you and say, you should switch your supply to us. And I could spend a lot of time on all of that. I will send some great articles. And on this website, you will see stuff you can read if you're really interested, but I want to get very specific about what you can do. Retail choice costs more. That's just what you have to know. If you've switched to an energy supplier, if they came to your door, if you saw them at a movie theater, there's actually a good chance you're on a retail supplier and you don't know this. Consumers have lost billions. It's deceptive sales. The contracts are bait and switch. The deregulated pricing starts out low and they bill high, and they love to target seniors. They also like to target people who are environmentally conscious. It's a largely unknown story. I will tell you as a reporter, it's very hard to write about. It's a lot of data. Now, why is this happening? I say this really with pure love. We are pretty uninformed consumers when it comes to our energy bill. It's just not a topic we have a lot of interest in, so I want to fix that. The first thing you need to know is names of the retail energy suppliers. Other than Texas and all the Northeast states, we don't see any ads about this. So here are just the big names. I'm going to say them out loud because you're going to have to do a little bit of work on your utility bill. Reliant, NRG, Constellation, Direct Energy, Just Energy, Smart Energy, Clearview, Green Mountain. You see all these names, a lot of them are nice sounding. Amigo Energy, Discount Power. These are all deregulated suppliers, and they can sell your electricity and your gas to you if you switch your utility account. And it's kind of surprising how a lot of people don't realize they actually switch their supplier from, say, your regulated utility. It could be BG&E, it could be PECO, it could be American, it could be any of your utilities that you normally use, and they'll find out that they're on a supplier. So these are the names you're kind of looking for. And what I want you to do is grab your utility bill. We're taping this, and there's a few things you have to know. First thing you have to do is you have to look on your utility bill and see if you see any of these names. I'm going to show you an example, by the way. Do you see any of these names? Constellation, Clean Choice, Reliant. Are they on your bill somewhere? Because bills can be very confusing. And there's 3 numbers that you need to find. You need to learn how many kilowatt hours does your residence use every year. I'm going to guess that most people don't know that. What is the standard price that your utility charges? What is the price to compare? Just like everything else we buy, we pretty much know what the prices are, but I would argue most people on your utility bill will say to me, I have no idea what my utility kilowatt hour rate is or what my gas therm rate is. Third number you have to find out is, what does your third party supplier charge you? If this all seems confusing, don't worry about it. Get help. Ask a family member, ask a friend. If not, I'm going to show you how to do it, and call your utility on a quiet day, which is Wednesday or Thursday after lunch, get a nice rep on the phone and have them help you find this, because these 15 minutes could save you $500. And I'm not being a Geico ad. So here's how it works. This is the math that basically all consumers need to do. You need to know about how many kilowatt hours your house uses. And I'm going to tell you the average is around 10,000 kilowatt hours. It's like a 2-3 bedroom house. That's your electricity. It's measured in kilowatt hours. The utility price to compare, the price just for the electricity, really is around 7 cents in most states, including Texas will be a little bit higher, but all other states, it's around 7 cents. The average supplier price that I see is 13 cents, which is an extra 5 cents. So if you do the math, you use about 10,000 kilowatt hours in your house all year long, it's around $500. This is a very, very average case. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you a real bill. Oh, shoot. I have to figure out how to do this. One sec. I'm changing my screen. Back to screen share. See if I can do this. I am going to show you a real bill that I have made anonymous. So the first thing I'm going to ask everybody is, do not show your bill to anybody. If they come to your door, do not show your bill. This is how I think they're changing most people. This is a BG&E bill. This is the largest utility in Maryland, but all utility bills kind of look the same. You're going to have your name and all that. You're going to have the amount to do is right here. In BG&E, I see this name on this bill. I see BG&E for delivery, but then I see IDT under supply. Huh, that's a supplier. That's interesting.
This is the only one we have because we only have.
Now, and then I get to these horrible pages. Every bill looks like this. It's a lot of math. It's a lot of gobbledygook, but guess what? I see IDT right here again. I am trying to find how many kilowatt hours does my house use every year. On my BG&E bill, it's buried right here. If you can't find it, call the PECO rep. So this house uses 7,800 kilowatt hours a year. It's a smaller house. I actually know this gentleman. I went to his house. It's a row house in Baltimore City. The next question is, how much does my utility, BG&E, charged for gas. See this box right here? You will find it in some form. BG&E supply price comparison. Tough to read, but it says right here, the current price for standard service is 8 cents. This was from last year, 8 cents. I now have two pieces of math. I call it Where's Waldo? I know this house uses 8,000 kilowatt hours. I know my utility, if I didn't switch, is 8 cents. Now I got to figure out the electricity rate. Again, if you don't know how to do this, ask a friend or get on the phone, because it doesn't take that long. I know that on the BG&E bill right here, there it is, electric supplier charges, IDT, 14.9 cents. I use 740 kilowatt hours this month. I can kind of tell by this chart, because now I'm a little bit more interested in this bill, 740 kilowatts. So next page, hold on, I'm going to go to the next page. I have my three numbers now. Here is his math. He uses 8,000 kilowatt hours. The utilities rate was 8 cents. The supplier charged 15. He paid an extra 7 cents for every single kilowatt hour, and that's $560. This is the math that everybody needs to do. You need to check your bill. You need to know about suppliers. Don't assume you're not on one. This gentleman paid, you do the same thing with gas. You figure out how much does my house use? What would the utility, if I didn't switch, charge me? How much am I paying by my supplier? Figure out the difference, add them up. If this is not what you want, you call that supplier and you cancel, and you watch your bill every single month. Because I've seen people get signed up again and again. This is what they don't want people to know. It's kind of confusing. It's a lot of work. So you know how to read your bill now. You're aware of this. I always ask people, share it with your friends and family. Maybe take this video from AARP and just share it. Here's the website for Energy Supplier Help Desk. There's a tab called Consumer Help. I've got some simple tips on here. Read your bill every month. Don't buy anything at the door. And don't show your utility bill to anybody. And just stay engaged in this, because the average person that I see spends $500 more a year and they don't even know it. So I thank you very much. And I hope you're excited to go check your bill. That's it.
What a great presentation. That was really interesting. I'm going to get my bill out as soon as we finish this. Are there any questions people want to ask?
Laura,
Yes.
that was an excellent presentation. It was enlightening. I never realized that those things were going on. I have a couple of questions. Can you be switched to another carrier without your knowledge? I mean, or do you have to agree and sign or something else? Can somebody just arbitrarily switch you from one carrier to, in this case, to the IDT without your knowledge? That's the first question.
Okay, so legally, every single state's regulations that everybody's supposed to follow say that you need to see a full contract, you need to sign it, you need to have been spelled out all the rates, the terms, the renewals, blah, 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 blah. In reality, it is clear that many people are being switched without their knowledge. Either they weren't paying attention or somebody switched them. The sales reps, I am not throwing sales reps under the bus. They are people who are also making money. They are commission-based. They often do not work for the supplier. They are outsourced. And this is what they do for a living. And just to share, I work 4 hours a week down in Baltimore City. I've helped people for years now. I've seen probably 1,000 bills. And I do know that there are many people who were switched and didn't even know it.
Yes.
And there's no help. And this is really important for each state and every person. There is no one to call. You don't call your utility and ask for help. You don't call your public service commission and they've got a help desk. You don't call a consumer advocate. You call the supplier. if you figured it out. And I can share with you, if you do cancel, my advice always is if you want to cancel, because if you're really good at this and you can do the prices, great. But most people are setting it and forgetting it. I see her. Is just cancel it. Don't let them talk you down into a lower rate, because these are all short-term contracts and they all switch to variable rates. So
Thank you for that answer. The second question I had is, hate to be a hog with questions, but you
no,
sparked my interest. The second question I had is, I'm surprised that the major carrier's bill, the IDT was embedded in there, and it was hard to figure out. Why does the major carrier, I use FPL4 powered light, which is a whole, you don't have any choice here, basically, in where I am.
yet.
That's your one choice. But I'm surprised the main carrier allowed that rider to be attached to their bill. That just struck me as unusual. Would you address that question, please?
When deregulation started in all of the states in the 1990s, almost every state went deregulated sometime between like 95 to 2005. State legislatures were a big part of this, and they mandated that all utilities are going to make this deregulated choice. And I will send you some information. It's called a consolidated bill. And I would argue it is a big part of the issue. For instance, we have a question right now where one of our guests said, Laurel, it's a little too fast and I'm having trouble reading my bill. It's gobbledygook to most of us. It's difficult. Many of us, it's just, I've noticed it's not in your wheelhouse to focus on this, and you're on your own. So it's really smart to be aware and to at least try. And again, but my advice is take your bill to somebody that you know and say, help me with this. So does that answer that?
It did. That makes it a little more clear. But why doesn't the main carrier clamor to get your business back, because they're losing business to the subcontractor supplier, if you will? Why
they're not allowed to. They're generally not allowed to. They're not.
That explains, that makes it more clear now, because I was wondering why they're not knocking your door and saying, hey, you've just stepped away, I'm sending you a pink flyer in there, you've just stepped away from our cheaper rates and you're being managed by a subcontractor, if you will, supplier, independent supplier, that type of thing. That makes it a little more clear. I have to look at that. So it's very interesting.
It is. And right now, the suppliers are in Florida pitching what a great idea this is for consumers. Is it okay if I read a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So somebody said, Laurel, this was a little too fast to take notes. And the good news is that this will be recorded. You can always send an email through energysupplierhelpdesk.org. And I see that you have Zoom Energy as a supplier. That is a deregulated supplier. They tend to have higher prices. That's just data. I'm not just saying that. It's the data I've looked at. Zoom tends to be higher. They are now owned by NRG. NRG is the largest retailer in the country and has been buying up suppliers. I would call Dominion. I would ask them what prices they are charging for their standard gas and electric, and then have them show you on your bill. She'll just do it over the phone, or he will do it over the phone, and do the math. How many kilowatt hours? And I'm happy to help. As crazy as that sounds, ask a friend, son, daughter, anybody who's good with bills to help you figure this out. I hope that answered that. It's hard for me to do gas rates. I don't know if 60 cents is good. It's probably a little high. Usually runs around 40 cents. So it's good. Put it on your calendar and check it out.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Well, all right, Carl, we're going to take yours and then we'll have to wind it down.
Okay. I'm so glad to be able to be on this meeting zone today. But one of the problems that I have is they are targeting certain neighborhoods where people at a certain age are vulnerable to understand concerning utility bills. And they come early in the morning, late at night, and then they come close to the month that where they looked at your bills or looked at the information, and they knock on your door and they're trying to explain to you, you're too much behind here. If you switch over here, you don't have to pay that. My biggest problem now is dealing with individuals in those particular areas and trying to make them to understand, don't sign anything unless they get the information so that they can understand and what they're signing for. The other thing is that they come in and you sign up with them and you own it for about 3 months or 4 months, then you find that your bill go up higher than it was before, and you don't have no way of complaining because you signed the contract and you have to live up to it to a certain extent. So my biggest, not a problem, but I'm so glad you got this. I just wish that we could get this information out to people that we know are being targeted with it and have a better training way so they can understand exactly what you are talking about and what you're explaining to them today.
Oh,
That's
thanks,
what we're
Carl.
trying to do. And
We are
so-
trying. And really quickly, my advice is if you can't read your electricity bill, you are not a good candidate for this product.
That's right.
Okay, so we are out of time. This recording will be posted on the Maryland. This recording will be posted on the Maryland State YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search Maryland State, and you'll be able to find this recording. Give us, please, about 48 hours to get it posted, and then you can review it as many times as you want and dismember it down into the pieces so that you can make good use of it. Thank you for being with us on this first presentation. Again, you can find out about future events by going to states.aarp.org/Maryland and clicking on Join Us for Fraud Watch Fridays. Thanks a lot and bye now.